last Sunday evening of the year. Hi, Dylaan. Very much welcome.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Good day, everyone. Good to have you again. So I just told our friends that we just kept our commitments and we just ran this Facebook Live of the two of us. We have been calling it Awin and Dylaan series. Seriously, for every last Sunday of the month, we did it now, and this is the last commitment. And hope you could also get some values and enjoy also the time that we have been sharing it with you. And we also thank you all very much for the acknowledgement and for sharing the time with us, so that every time we could speak about a topic and discuss something with real life challenges and experiences, and also know-how with you, our esteemed friends and colleagues. With Dylaan, we have been discussing to present a topic for you, or actually not present, it's not going to be a monologue because we want you also in, about linear or non-linear approaches or decision makings in life. I just hear a little bit myself as an echo. Do you hear me properly? Dylaan, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So it's just me. So we just wanted to discuss this with you because mostly through our decision makings in our career or in our personal lives, once when things do not take place the way they used to, or the way that it happens outside for everybody else, we just unintentionally or unconsciously get into a kind of panic or a kind of unconscious reactions that we feel like embarrassed or lost. And we think this is wrong, or because with everybody else it's happening differently. So the thing is that ultimately most of this kind of indirect decision makings or processes in life, regardless of career or in personal life, these are all parts of a puzzle that they just one after the others fall in place, and at the end of the day make the clear shape of the plan or the goal that we were actually aiming for. So I'm very happy that today we have also my friend and expert Dylaan with us, as he can just add a lot of value because of his also background, especially as a neuroscientist and a medical doctor. So we can also understand what is exactly the process. Why is it happening like this, and how our brain reacts to such incidents. So, and how is the human really functioning? So now I spoke really a lot. Dylaan, please take over. And of course, we just continue exchanging. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much. Actually, it was a very nice introduction because this topic is a little bit maybe odd to
like me.
Yeah.
I'm always coming with strange stuff, but I think at the end of the day, they are real, you know, that's more important.
Yeah, that's wonderful because our brain is not a linear device, and the same way with our universe. We think actually because we have been programmed from childhood that we do something and we expect exactly the same result all the time, and because we are in this kind of uh, repeating things in our life, that's why we think everything is linear. But as you mentioned, is not actually our life has a lot of non-linear things, and that's why when you came up with this topic, I loved it because that's how
your eyes were suddenly glowing.
Yeah.
I remember.
That's how
you know, because I was reading also once that actually, sorry that I'm playing with my hairs a little bit today. I've been skiing the whole day, so I don't know. I really don't look like other times maybe, but just but it would bother me if I don't look probably the way I want. So I hope it doesn't bother you. But anyway, I read once that actually the whole universe doesn't function after a linear pattern, because once I saw something very nice, that the universe is the master of making systems out of absolute chaos.
Right.
So this was very interesting for me because as a former mathematician and then lawyer, etc. So my brain has been always working very logically, of course, mostly also in conflict with my heart and emotion because I'm also a very emotional person. But for me, it was a kind of contradictory because I always believed that the world or the universe follows a linear system and everything has a kind of you know, after the laws of cause and effect. So everything has a reason. It works like, you know, 1 and 1 is 2. Things works like this. But as I read that statement a few months ago, it was a really interesting question mark for me. Is it really like this? Because I always thought universe, you know, we have like 4 seasons, each one like 3 months. Everything is really, for me, it has, maybe that's how, as you mentioned, how we have been learning it. So these are the patterns and the way that we have already created our basic knowledges. But as such, maybe they are not the way they are, or this is just how we wanted or accepted that to be. What do you think?
Yeah, actually, our life is more non-linear than linear, but because we have been programmed by people who didn't think that way. That's why we think everything must be linear, everything must be like the same thing that we are expecting. But as you mentioned, many things happen in our life, in the universe, and in our brain that it shows actually it's not linear. So there is a book in the name of U Square. So the title of
Okay.
it is
Is it
U.
like U square?
Yeah, you as you, and
Yes.
two. So U Square, and it's by
Ah,
science
so
fiction.
U two. Okay. Mathematical.
Yeah, and this U Square. When I read it, I'm like, wow, that's wonderful actually, because that's how our brain works. Our brain works in, as you mentioned, in chaos. Sometimes
Really?
something.
I thought brain is a master of system.
Uh, uh, it's very interesting that brain is very, very complex.
Okay,
Okay,
this is clear. Yeah.
it's really complex and is non-linear.
Mm-hmm.
The results we get, we interpret it in linear
Mm-hmm.
systems. But
Ah.
imagine that our brain is accepting or receiving about 40 to 63 million pieces of data every second. However, with this complexity, our brain can focus only on one thing.
Yeah.
And that's why it's very important to focus. It doesn't mean it's linear because we get information from different places, which
Mm-hmm.
they are non-linear.
Mm-hmm.
But when we get the results, because our subconscious mind has been programmed from childhood that we get the results linear, and that's why actually, for business plan or for goals that we have for next year or so, like for business growth, or people they are employee of a company
Mm-hmm.
and they are expecting that kind of linear growth, like
Yeah.
for example 3%.
Mm-hmm.
And even among of those people, they are successful and they think they can grow faster. The average, many studies this has been shown that the average growth is 7.8%,
Okay.
while
That's even better, actually.
it's better,
Yeah.
but still it's kind of linear.
Yeah.
Why? Because they have been programmed like that. But honestly, as you mentioned, something happens in our life or our business, and we think, oh, that's a chaos. That's
Yeah.
very undesirable. This is bad, and it can hurt us.
Mm-hmm. Or
Uh,
maybe you get the feeling that I'm out of order. I mean, out of order in a way like
exactly.
I don't really follow the way it must be. I mean, also for me, there was sometimes the question that I was asking myself. I was saying, why am I jumping from this career to the other? Or why am I getting really not like other people's who have a job for 20 years, 30 years, then they build up a family and then they die. So that's actually the normal rule of life. But that's how the majority works. And normally that's the minority that sometimes also suffer, because this kind of nonlinear, or let's say indirect, approaches towards their goals or achievement, they just experience it more, probably because they already unconsciously show or reflect these potentials to the universe, and then they just also get it on their table. So they are challenged by those, and the way that they master it, or they just accomplish it, that will become like one part of that puzzle that in the right time fall into the right place. And to me, sometimes, I mean, the last most recent challenge was like about a few weeks ago, that something suddenly, a shift happened in my business, where I thought, oh, this was not programmed, or this was not planned, and how am I going to manage this? Then for like a few days, I had totally the feeling of panic. I mean, I'm also open and honest. I didn't say, oh, I just managed it in half an hour, or I knew. No, every time that this happened, every single time, again, I react the same. I get the same panic, but I realized that in the course of time, every time I react the same, but I manage it more efficiently after every experience. Because this time, then I really, got my shit together, like in a few days. Maybe 8 years ago, it could have taken me 8 weeks. So this is always happening. And after that those few days that I like got my records together, and then I really look at all the pros and cons of each side, then I realized, oh, this is actually a gift, because now it made me like a bounce back to some other expertise or experiences that I had, so that I can also bring them back into this, what I have been planning, and I have even something richer or more valuable to offer.
Yes.
So
yeah, that is true. Actually, when we get in a critical situation, let me give you a physical example. Maybe some of our audience they have experienced this. When you
we can
get
just
in,
say quickly hi also to everyone. We have a lot of our amazing
yeah, I don't.
friends and colleagues that I'm pretty impressed on a Sunday
I,
evening. So thank you
sorry,
very much.
it's your job to let me
Just
know.
because it's
You know,
standing like this, so I just see the names, and I have a big thank you for you. And one other thing that I have to apologize, that I'm moving a lot because I'm standing today. So I hope you're not bothered.
that's
Okay.
non-linear approach.
Yeah. So everything is, and then with this T-shirt, so things are
So
like.
let me go back to the example. So when you are in near accident situation, nothing is linear. Why? Because whatever happens at that moment is everything is unconsciously. It doesn't go actually to the cortex.
Is it the reflection, which you mean it's
Yeah,
unconsciously?
the reflection, the responses we do, and we do some heroic things that in our real life, in our regular life, it's not possible for us to do it.
Okay.
So this is actually, it shows that our brain, our subconscious mind, the subcortical nuclei and the brainstem, they work nonlinear. They work in a different. They work in chaos. In that chaotic situation, that you cannot analyze it, because you cannot handle that many pieces of information. But subconsciously, you respond to that, because our nervous system is designed like that. It's designed for that critical situation. And I saw, I think it was a post, or it was an article a while ago. I saw that brain actually decides in calmness. It's not.
No,
Brain
I
actually,
think not. My
and
most crazy, crazy, I mean like most significant decisions
create
of me,
create
they happened like in the never calm situations. No.
exactly. We get the response when we are in chaotic situation, and then we have question how to respond to that consciously. Okay, then when you cannot get the response, when you cannot get the answer, we have to calm down a little bit and listen. Listen to our brain, because our brain, when you get a question, when you ask a question, our brain, like a huge a supercomputer, it goes through the database to find
the right
okay,
answer.
the right answer, and none of them is linear. Just like our universe is spiral, our DNA is spiral, our like the growth of the natural things is spiral, is not really linear. We think it is linear because that's how we program, but
How we probably see it.
exactly.
Or how we want to see it. I think
We
that's
want
what,
to
because we want to simplify maybe to understand it. So we just perceive to see things like in a certain order and then certain line, so that they are more simple for us to accept and understand and cope with. Because
and it's about expectation. If an employee or a business owner or a manager, a leader of a company or organization, his or her expectation is to grow 3% next year, that's how he or she will plan, and that's how this manager or leader approach the things. But if the same person say, okay, how about if we do something different, as you said, non-linear, out of expectation, then we can grow that much. And
or maybe if they have that, they follow that approach, maybe they grow even more.
Exactly.
Because normally people get scared or they get panic as soon as something is just different. It could be even better. It could be much more. But they just decline it, I think, automatically, and they are rather more comfortable or more safe with what they know.
Yes.
The results that they know.
Yeah, that's why, as you mentioned, when something happens in our life, on our business or our career, it's because the universe is testing us.
So I'm the master of tests. Sometimes I just say, dear universe, it's fine, it's okay, please. Next person. I'm done.
To everyone, and nobody
but sometimes I also actually feel privileged because of that. I think maybe it's preparing me for something which I was not planning for, or maybe it's something which is much bigger than my imaginations or so. I mean, imagination I cannot say because that has no limits, but then my plans. Right. So thank you, Mirella. Yes, I'm very authentic now. You see everything. Thank you. You too. And actually, Mirella is also a wonderful friend of mine. A very powerful and non-conform, I would call her now clearly like that, because I appreciate people who are like this, kind of not following the rule books, and a powerful Italian lady who built up a business in Germany. And a while ago, during the time that I was also going through that experience of feeling like, oh, why things didn't happen the way I was expecting, so I'm a failure, or the time that I invested, everything, ooh, what happened? She also went through a similar experience. And the way she expressed that, it was so emotional and so beautiful. So maybe if she's here and she's listening or watching us, I would like her maybe also to comment on that. And suddenly she just course corrected the whole route of her business, just regardless of the price that probably she need to pay, or whoever else needs to pay, as like, I don't know, family, business partner or whatever. But she also went through that shift. So this is the scary thing, but which can be also very pleasant when once we accept it.
Yeah, it happens to everyone, and it happened to me many times. But one of them was very prominent, that in 10 minutes I decided to do many things that I never thought I could do it. Never ever before.
Wow.
Because I have not been in that situation, and I was not experiencing before. So in like,
what was that?
In 10
I
minutes,
mean,
I
if
changed the course of my life. In 10 minutes, I did so many things that later on, when I thought about that, I'm like, how could I do this? And then I made a program, actually, 10 minutes to success. It's
wow.
a program that I made it based on what happened to me, and it's real.
Hmm.
And in this 10 minutes to success, actually, I teach people that when you break down the things in smaller steps and when you block it out,
Hmm.
we think like 10 minutes is not that much. But
Hmm.
if you break it to minutes
Hmm.
or like for 15 seconds and test it, say, okay, now is like the is at like 0, and
Hmm.
now 15 seconds later, test it, see how much can you do. You do a lot of things in that 15 seconds. And it's interesting
Is it
that
not like it's a very funny also saying when say if you want to really understand the value of a second or a minute or something, just think about it every morning that you miss your bus because of 2 seconds, or we just run a bit faster and the bus is there too. It's a matter of seconds, really. Or
yeah,
there are a lot of this kind of very practical examples actually that normally we see, oh come on, it's just 5 minutes, but if you even think about 2 seconds, 2 seconds or two steps forward, that you could have caught the bus, or 1 minute you could have caught the train and you didn't. So you see how what a difference just seconds or minutes can also leave in our lives or in our schedules.
it is very important. In our regular life, probably we don't see it that way. But if you think about the athletes, they compete in Olympics.
Yeah.
The difference between the first and the last one, like 10 people in row, is sometimes it's less than a second. It's
Yeah,
like the
like a
fraction, like
tenth of a second. Yeah.
milliseconds of, and
Yeah.
it happens. This is called actually a razor edge. Like it's so small that in regular life we don't pay attention to it. But that's how our brain works. That's why
Mhm.
when something critical happens in our life
Mhm.
or business or whatever we are connected with, when it happens, and then your subconscious mind quickly starts to respond.
Mhm.
And sometimes in a fraction of a second, and that's how we make a decision actually.
Mhm.
The decision making is in a fraction of a second, is in milliseconds, the
Mhm.
actual decision. The other times we are collecting the data to help us to
I
make
think
a
these are the
conscious.
data that we collect to justify our decision, to
Exactly.
explain it to other people.
Exactly.
So I'm going home and now I'm telling my sister, if she asks, if she freaks out and she did what I did this, then I say, that's how I did it. That's why I did it. Just
Yeah.
to collect the reasons. Yeah. That's very correct, actually. If we just go back, I think things happens like in chunks. I mean, in smallest chunks of even less than seconds or something. But normally these are not very much visible to us or people, or also those kind of happenings. I mean, look at your own life. This is also all non-linear. I mean, like mine, like especially we are maybe as because of probably also our heritage, our origin, etc. Maybe we are just the best examples of the walking non-linear examples. That everything, I mean, the universe, or I don't know, politics or heritage, everything put us in situations that we have been challenged since we were born. I mean, so just even to survive those kind of incidents in life, or just to adapt to other situations in life, or other countries, other cultures, other nations, other educations, other career, so that made us in a way that we are prepared for those kind of non-linear incidents or happenings or approaches in life. So even if sometimes I get scared, or as I said, I get panic, or I feel like, ooh, now I have done so much and now it looks like a failure, but still I think, look, I have managed bigger shit than this. So come next, let's do it. So I think you also really understand what I say, and maybe a lot of our friends also, depending on what they have been through or what they have been facing, the more challenges or the more also courageous a person is, the more prepared he or she must be also to deal with such situations.
Yeah, yes, that's true. And that's why my recommendation to our audience is, if something happens out of order, if something happened that you think, oh, it's going to ruin your life or something like that, just calm down and trust the universe, trust your brain, trust your non-linear function of your subcortical nuclei and brainstem, and then you come up with a solution that you never thought before that was probably possible.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so don't panic. Just go with the chaos and then calm down to get the response, to get the answer up to those questions.
I think that's the most important part. Because I think that's the most important part of the process, because when at that moment we get disconnected and we don't trust the process, or that let's say piece of the puzzle which just went out of order, so called, which can be actually the process of making the most perfect order ultimately. But because at that moment it's not familiar to us, so we just try to escape it, or we just try to challenge it, or we just try to, omit it, remove it from our life. But as soon as we get to that moment, so we say, okay, things have not been happening the way I was expecting or I was planning, but let me just get into silence a little bit and think, what is the message for me, or what is this trying to tell me?
Right.
What am I going to be challenged by? Because as it's now also the end of the year, I think many people, because a lot of people, they are like this wannabe goals and everything they have already, but I think 90% of us, including myself, we still don't have it really clear. or it's not perfectly done. Everybody want to say, yeah, I set my goals and I have my plans. No, I mean, come be real. So some of them, they may never work, or some of them you may never realize. Or be realistic, be authentic, and be also ready for unexpected pieces of the puzzle, because they might be also the best things. And I think that's also a part of really your expertise, because I heard you're also offering a webinar in that area.
Yes, that's true. Sometimes things doesn't move forward or doesn't happen the way we expect. And 2018 was one of those years for me. So I had a car accident, with head injury. I couldn't speak. Like, my speaking engagements were just on hold for about 7 months. And several other things happened in my life. None of them was expected. And now, at the end of the year, I should not regret my life. I should not say, oh, okay, why this happened to me? It happened to me because I worth it. Because I know the universe knows that I can come up with a solution.
Yeah.
And
training you to create solutions. Maybe
exactly.
you are programmed to be the creator.
Yeah. So we are human, and nobody's exception. If something happens, just embrace it, take it, make something good of it. It takes time, sure. It doesn't happen overnight. But the important thing is just take it as a test, and say, okay, so the universe is testing me. It didn't go the way I was expecting. What I learned from this lesson. So whatever you learn, put it in your life, in your program, and design your life. Because when we live a life by design, not by default, that we have been programmed from childhood, then we're going to have a good life.
Yeah. That's wonderful. because once we are not open for change or for transformation, so it's better we should stop like being creative or being courageous and building up businesses, etc. Then we shall just stick to an ordinary life. That's fine. That's everybody's beer, and it's affordable and manageable and doable and predictable. But once we accept a challenge in life to be different, to make a difference, and to be a change, how can we be a change or make a change in other people's life when we are not open for changes? And changes, to my opinion, happen through this kind of nonlinear chunks or chapters of life. So once we learned to welcome them instead of getting scared or run away, or at least to reduce the panic period, as I am trying now, because it happens too often. And every time I get, of course, panic at the beginning, and I get like trying to defend myself or protect myself. But then, as I told you, the process has been decreasing now. So from maybe a month or weeks or something, now I'm managing this kind of stuff. What I realize is just I manage them in a few days, or maybe one day I make it in a few hours or a few minutes. So it is good that we are open for change. And as also my wonderful mentor always say, a business is not about who you are, it's about who you're becoming. And becoming is change. And change can be nonlinear and sometimes super scary.
Yes.
That's the funny part.
That's true. It could be scary. And we always have fear because our ancestors, they have lived for tens or hundreds of thousands of years in wild environment with wild animals. So this fear is part of our life. That's not important. The important thing is face the fear, but do it anyway.
Absolutely. I think it's a beautiful message to also now maybe close our last session of the year. So that the last Sunday can everybody just go and also attend their other commitments or plans. Johnny Love Moira, I see you. So schön dich zu sehen. I think that was a great message, which you also just mentioned. Now face the fear, and from my side is also be open and be a becoming person, not a I am person. See where you're heading at and what you can become, and open for that. Don't program that I am going to become a doctor next year, or I'm going to become this and that. Be open for that person you are becoming.
Yes.
So I think that's what makes life non-boring and non-linear.
Yeah, you mentioned a good thing. Many people, when they do the new year resolution or they wish for things, they think it's going to happen overnight. It doesn't. New Year's Eve is not a magic evening or night. Next day, you're going to wake up in
hangover.
And everything is changed. It doesn't happen. It's a system.
Exactly. And you forgot your plans at all. Everything can happen. We are human.
We need to follow a system. That's like when you go to law school to become a lawyer, when you go to medical school to become a medical doctor. It's a system. You need to follow. And it's good for our audience actually to realize that, to actualize themselves and see who they are, and as you mentioned, who they want to become in 2019. By end of 2019, what kind of person you are becoming, and then get help from coaches, mentors, from those people. They have been through this process, they are teaching it. Get help. Don't be
just I think that's a great assistance towards the allocation, towards finding the right direction, because once we feel like we are lost, or we are just not in the right order, so we may get panic, but then we're getting the right help, then things can get more clearer for us. So I think with this it would be a appropriate moment for us also to say goodbye, and wishing everybody a beautiful, powerful, successful year ahead, and no fear. I mean, I don't say no fear, but just face it and accept it, and yeah, become friend with it.
Yes,
It's a part of our
exactly.
life.
And change your life and become the person you want to become next year or next 5, 10 years, whatever. And to say goodbye 2018 and to our friends, our audience on Facebook Live in past few months that we have been done this program. Uh, First, I hope that they have uh, got some benefits out of these live events, and I got
Some
so many.
benefit? Are you kidding me? Tons of benefits.
Uh, I got so
Hello?
many messages, and you have received so many messages from
Yeah,
our audience, from our friends
that's
that
lovely. Yeah.
yes, it has been wonderful actually to be with you, an audience, during past few months or several months that we have been done this program. And to say goodbye to 2018, I'm gonna put a link later on when we close. I'm gonna put a link to my webinar, which is Jumpstart 2019 and Strike the Goals.
Great. Yeah, that's also what I mentioned to them. So I got just a comment that our picture is not right, but the question I asked from the very beginning, and nobody said that it's not good. So I'm sorry. Sorry. Non-linear.
Yeah.
The topic is right. So maybe that was done on purpose, Alicia. Okay, happy 2019, everyone, and happy 2018. Still one day left, 1.5 day. So make the best out of it. Don't stress yourself, and have a beautiful New Year Eve celebration with your beloved ones. And see you in 2019 with new plans and programs. Bye bye.
I wish you and everybody else Happy New Year and very successful 2019.
Thanks.